Hey, sorry to keep everyone waiting. Technical difficulties, which that's not usual.
We were just signing up that 50th person. We want to make sure we were.
Oh, what am I doing? It's this thing. Hold on.
Good.
Oh my God. All the technology and the gadgets that I got to deal with here, Tass.
Yeah.
I got lights attached. I got cameras. So we're 20 minutes late. I told you we lost all our fans. Is that Mr. Friedman?
It is.
Oh, Mr. Maliki. How are you, my friend? Anyway.
Well, we made it on, which is good news.
Hey, how does he sound on yours? It sounds like you're in a concert hall.
Well, I have perfect Wi-Fi.
All right. Yes, sir. I look forward to catching up at the Super Show. Sounds good. All right. All right. So, hey, 50 new students in a month. We wanted to keep everybody waiting. Anyway, I can't believe we're ending the second quarter. We're about to start the third quarter of the year. You know?
Where does the time go?
I don't know, but
it does seem to go faster as you get older.
It does, right?
Yeah.
It does.
That's great, Mr. Maddox.
Very good.
Hey,
so sorry, guys. We had some issues. We're here, and when you guys, the thing is if everybody watching this is in the elite or CMA family, obviously you guys know. But in our industry, when somebody says we enrolled 50 students, 80 students, 90 students in 1 month, what does that mean? And Tass, being that we've worked with so many school owners, sometimes people will say, I signed up 50 people this month. And what did they really sign up?
50 cats? No. A lot of people confuse students with trials, right? Yeah, there's some feedback there.
What?
There's some feedback.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Do you have your phone volume up?
No, I only have a computer. I don't even have my phone on.
Oh, that's it.
But anyway, yes, you're right. You might want to refresh, try again.
Yeah, I'm going to jump back on because I don't have that refresh option. Give me 1 second.
Okay. But anyway, everybody, listen. So a lot of times people confuse students with trials and they use trials as their bragging numbers, right? They'll be like, hey, we signed up, 50 people. Well, those are trials. Not all the time. Not all the time. Tass, go ahead.
Is it any better?
Yes.
Perfect. Good.
So anyway, yes, people will sign up trials, but here at the end of the day, look, we can't survive on trials. Trials are great, but they're only great if you can convert them into new students. So when we're talking about signing up 50, 60, 70 students in a month, what we are talking about is how do people do that for full-fledged students?
Right.
Number one. Number two, I know not everybody likes this, and this is a turnoff for some, not for others. But when we enroll a student, they purchase a 1-year program. So they're in for a year. Well, how do you sign up 50 students onto a 1-year program in 1 month? That's two. Number three, when you hear numbers like this, you have to ask more questions. Because if I got on there and I told you that I signed up 50 students a month, which we do not do that. But if somebody touts that, hey, we're signing up 20 students every month, 30 students every month, that's awesome. What's your active count? We got 200 students. Then they're doing something on the enrollment, whether they're just masters at sales, but something else is wrong because our active count is only 200. So if I'm signing up an average of 240 students a year, but I only have 200 students, it's a problem, right? That's a problem. There's massive turnover here. So you got to look at all of these things, and you got to make sure you dive in deep. But for the purposes of this, we're talking about how would you enroll 50 students in a month? if you don't have contracts or if you don't have programs and you just sign people up month to month, Tass, is that easier to sign up 50 in a month, harder, or the same? What do you think?
Well, I mean, look, I think at the end of the day, it all comes back to your marketing and your ambition, right? And so the argument is that yes, it's easier, right, to sign people up on a month-to-month program because there's number one. Well, I'm just going to say it like you don't have to have much of a rapport with people to get them to make a decision that's a 30-day decision. In other words, they sign up and they know they can cancel with a 30-day notice. You don't have to have a lot of rapport. And so not that people that do month to month don't have rapport with their students. I want to be clear about that. But it's just easier, right? It's easier to do that. Anytime that you add a commitment or add time, it's just an objection. So people that typically do, month to month programs, they do that because they want to remove the objection of, the commitment and potentially a spousal objection. So they don't have to talk to them. So they're trying to remove those objections. And that's what happens. Are we echoing again?
We're back. We're back. Mary Ann, it's good to see you. I hope everything is great with you and the boys. Hope all is well. But yes, well, there you go. So yes, it is easier. So then why would people want to do terms? But again, there's reasons. Let's talk about how we sign up 50 people. So are you back? How are we doing, Tass?
I don't know. It was good last time for a few minutes.
I don't know what's going on. Anyway.
Weird day.
All right. So anyway, 50 new students. Here's the deal. If you're a one-man or one-woman show, it's nearly impossible to do 50, 30, consistently 20. It's almost impossible unless you know how to do mass enrollments, right? Because if you're a one-man or one-woman show, you just don't have the time, number one. Number two, if you do have help in the office where you have somebody that does enrollments, it's still extremely difficult to hit a benchmark of 50 new enrollments in 1 month. It's very hard unless you do mass enrollments. Very hard. Because what you need to do, and this is a tip for everybody, and it's the boring tip. It's the tip nobody wants to do. You got to say, you got to look at your numbers and see how many inquiries are you getting for real, okay? How many inquiries are you getting? How many appointments are showing up? How many people are walking in? How many people are you presenting to enroll in your school? What percentage are enrolling compared to the ones that are showing, right? You strive for 100%, but realistically, we want to try to hit a benchmark of 80%. That means for every 10 people that sit in front of me, I'd like 8 of them to enroll. Well, if you want to enroll 50 people in a month, you got to see a lot of people. So the next part of this is, do you know how to get people into your location? Do you know that? And that seems to be, for the most part, when we talk to people, the biggest issue people have is just getting people here. Tass, how many times do we hear, oh, once they get in front of me, I can sign them up, right? So the problem is getting people into your facility. So why are mass enrollments, and we can't cover mass enrollments A to Z, we can cover the concept here, but why are those important, and why is it easier to get people to come to a mass enrollment than it is to come to a free martial arts class or 4 weeks of martial arts or 2 weeks of martial arts?
Well, you got to remember, like the concept and the premise behind a mass enrollment. And by the way, right, I see stuff all the time, and we've been talking about this stuff for years. And so I'll see things where people will talk about, consultants doing things that are outdated and they're, 10 years old or 20 years old. Well, you know what? When things work, you continue to work at them and you continue to do them. And the concept may be the same, but things evolve over time. And I think that's important to realize. So if you've heard about, mass enrollments or whatever, but you're maybe not implementing them, or maybe you think it's the same old, and you might think there's a better mousetrap. The reality is there isn't. I mean, right now, we know that mass intros and mass enrollments are much easier to do and much easier to get I always call it a quantity of people, right? A lot of people at once. And why is that? Well, because first of all, as opposed to calling a lead. And let's just say you've got a lead list where people maybe have been on your lead list. They've never come in for a trial class, right? Because there's suspects and there's prospects, and we know we don't get everybody in. But I think most of us have some sort of a lead list that we've captured over the time that we've been involved in our business. And so if we do a 6-month or 12-month look back, there may be a lot of those leads that have never even come into the martial arts school. And maybe initially we contacted them and tried to get them to come in to take an evaluation lesson. And now time goes by and we call back and we want to get them in for an evaluation lesson. And then time goes by and we want to call and get them in for an evaluation. Like, that just gets to be the same old, same old. And most people, whether it's an owner operator, program director, people making those calls, will not continue to make that same call because they run out of things to say, right? And you have to have a little bit of wit when you make these phone calls. So by doing a mass enrollment, well, now we can have a different reason for making that phone call to that potential student. And we may hit on a hot button. So this can work for adults, but for kids specifically, right? In this example, you may call up your leads for the last 6 months that have never been in and let them know the reason for your call is you're doing a free community event. That's a buzz phrase, by the way, right? So it encapsulates the whole community. And this time of year, a stranger awareness seminar works wonders. Why? Because we know the kids are outside more. Our goal and our mission is to keep our community safe and keep the kids in our community safe. And that's what we're doing. So when I make that call, or I do the email, or I do the text, or I do all of these things, I can call that out and say, Mrs. Smith, listen, I know you were interested in our program in the past, and for whatever reason, it just wasn't the right time. No problem. The reason for my call today is to let you know about a free community event that we're doing that I thought you might enjoy for Johnny. And it's our free community events, our stranger awareness workshop that we're doing, or whatever. You insert it, right? That may not be of interest to them. But when you do a different theme, and we disguise mass enrollments, right? Just like we disguise our marketing with the seasons, we'll have a Focus for Better Grades workshop come back to school season. We'll do a board breaking confidence, right? We'll have all different themes that we can do. And one of those might like strike a chord with a parent, be like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me do that. But now I'm inviting them in for a free community event. So there's no pressure. And they can come in and participate. So now we can cast this wide net and get more people to come into us, do this wonderful free community event, provide a great service. And there's a whole system for a mass enrollment and how we do this. But if they enjoy it and they want to get started, we're going to give them a special that day just because there's a group of people and they'll go ahead and enroll. Where that special is a low barrier as far as a cost perspective. The commitment for us is still the same, but we make it very easy for them to get on board. So that's the power of doing mass enrollments is you can change your marketing as opposed to evaluation lessons, number one. And number two, when have you ever been able to do 20 evaluation lessons in one day, right? It just doesn't happen. So you can get a group of people in on a Friday night or a Saturday and do a big group intro lesson, show people the benefits of the program, present them with a great opportunity. And if they want to get started, fantastic. That's how we do it.
Let me try to teach you guys some concepts here. First of all, is there anyone on here, yes or no, anyone on here that has done a mass enrollment? I'd like to see yeses or nos if you've ever done a mass enrollment. Let's see some comments here. Cass, this is where I'm learning to wait. This is where I learn patience. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It's funny because 12 years ago, I was doing 13 years ago, I was doing mass enrollments. But there was details that I was missing with the mass enrollments that we've learned over time.
All right, keep it coming, guys. I see yeses. Who has not done a mass enrollment? I mean, yes or no? Have you done a mass enrollment? Yes or no? The ones that have said yes, let me ask you, what's the most students you've signed up in an hour? In 1 hour, hour and 15 minutes, you guys know what I mean, in one mass intro, which is about an hour or so. What's the most amount of students you've enrolled in 1 hour?
Oh my gosh, that's annoying. I can hear my pen and I can hear the echo.
It's weird, right? Mr. Walls have signed up 12 people in 1 hour. Anyone else? Anybody? 5. By the way, Mr. Alama, 5. There are people watching this that haven't signed up 5 in a month, or that's a decent month.
Right.
So 12 in 1 hour, 5 new students in 1 hour enrolled, another 12 in 1 hour or so, right? 6 in 1 hour. So 15, Miss Angelieri, 15 new enrollments in 1 hour. You know, the industry wants more students. Are we willing to work for it? Let me go over this concept. Tash, you said it, but hear me out on this. I'm going to use Avalon, right? Our school in Avalon as an example. The school in Avalon has been here for 20 years. 20 years. Now, you know Avalon. Avalon is a self-contained community. It's like we have our own little grocery store, our elementary school, middle school, high school. It's all a little community. And nobody really comes into Avalon that doesn't live in Avalon. Like, this is why there's a lot of restaurants that come and go constantly, because they'll get big restaurants, but the people in Avalon, there's just not enough people maybe to support all the restaurants, and people don't drive down into Avalon, into this community, to go to dinner. There's other places. Saying that, we are 2,000 feet, 3,000 feet from the elementary school. Our martial arts school is about 3,000 feet, right? It's not far. And we've been here for 20 years. We've marketed, we've had booths. There's been times where the Avalon school has signed up 7 students, right? 7 students.
In a month, by the way.
In a month. 7 students in a month. And they're marketing, and they're here, and we've been here in the same community 20 years. But if those guys go into that elementary school and do a PE teacher for a day, or they talk to the kids, or we go and they have little, like, for example, this weekend, they have a 4th of July thing. They'll shut the streets down. People are on the streets, right? If we invite people to a free community event, that same school a few years ago, Avalon, signed up 56 new students in 1 month. Well, where were those 56 students? Why didn't they enroll? Because we've been here for 20 years. Why didn't they come in and enroll? It's all about presentation. And when you're dealing with children, now the same concept, as we always say, applies for adults, but the majority of people that are training are children. So we always use the example for the children. And I know if you're a BJJ school, you're going to say, no, I have 90% adults. But as a whole in the industry, there's more kids training in martial arts. But do you think there's more parents right now that are thinking, man, I want my kid to join martial arts? I want my kid to join martial arts. Or are there more parents saying, I want my kids to have more focus. I want my kids to have more discipline. I want my kids to be safer this summer because I know they're going around. I want my kids to get better grades. Well, you know the answer. Every parent wants more discipline for their kid and more. So market that. Don't market martial arts, market that. But you're not a school of like, join our discipline school, but you can have a 10 ways to improve discipline with your child workshop. You could do a focus for better grades workshop, which is 1 hour on a Saturday. And when you do that, the net automatically is bigger. You're going to get more people in. Then when they get in, I'm going to give everybody this one freebie here. And it's step 4 on the open. Let's test you, Tass. What's step 4 on the open during a mass enrollment?
I have no idea.
Well, that's the show. I'm not going to say it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you've got, I mean, I'd have to go through all 3. Introduce yourself in the school and introduce your instructors is number 2. Number 3 is pre-famous sales talk will occur. Number 4 is you're going to go through the essentially the rules of the martial arts school.
That's it. The rules.
That was like the form and saying, go to number 12. I had to think about that for a second.
I knew you'd get it. I knew you'd get it. So listen, and Mr. McGraw got it, rules. So listen, when you go over the rules, when people come into your school for this free workshop, right? This is where you're going to separate yourself from everybody, and it's about presentation. Here's what you say. Let me ask you, do you guys understand that when parents send their kids to school, do you guys believe there's bullying that goes on at school? Yes or no? Right? Of course. I mean, if you don't, chime in, and I'd like to know where you live, and my family and I are going to be putting the house up for sale, and we'll be moving there. Okay? There's bullying. Do you think there's name calling? Do you think there's peer pressure, negative peer pressure in the schools? And yet we constantly send them back to school, right? So when parents come in for the free workshop and we thank them for coming in and we go through those steps, what he just said, but we hit number 4 rules. We say, parents, this is the most important thing. We have a few rules. Number 1, if you have any cell phones, please put them on silent. We want to give all our attention and focus to your children, right? I know your children probably don't get easily distracted, but most kids do. But we want to make sure we do everything we can to get them totally focused and give them our attention. Number 2, if you see people in the lobby, your parents that have small children, we're going to ask them to, listen, if they're getting antsy, please feel free, walk them around a little bit, but we're going to need you at the end of the class because we're going to need you parents on the mat for 2 minutes for something at the end. Fine. And number 3, parents, when you walk through our doors, you have to realize that once you step into this facility, we are a positive reinforcement facility. That means we're constantly building up our students, not punishing and not making them feel like they do wrong. We reinforce positivity. For example, if we start running laps around the mat and they trip and fall, the first person they're going to look at is you, not me as the instructor. They're going to look over to you. I want you to give them a thumbs up, a smile, a wink, a nod, an A-okay. Do we know these scripts? And let them know how great they are doing. We're going to build your kids up because parents, and then we say this, because now what you're doing is you're creating a need that they didn't really consciously know. Parents, it's unfortunate, but we send these kids to school every day, right? And we do that why? To read, write, add, subtract, and learn academics. But that means nothing if these kids don't have confidence. It means nothing if they don't have discipline to execute. That's where we come in. So while we send them to school and kids are making fun of their hair, their clothes, you as parents, when they come here, we're building them up. So we want to do everything we can, and we need your help to just encourage and give them positivity, period. Right then, these parents are going to know, or they're going to think to themselves, man, I like this, and I need my child to be part of something like this. So we've now set the stage for the value of martial arts training without saying, hey, martial arts helps with discipline and focus and respect. That means nothing. You've got to hit these pain points, and you got to paint a picture for them. And then what you do is you say, now let's start our class, and this is a free class, okay? But right off the bat, you establish that is something different, parents, than or you're not parents, or some of you are parents, but that is something different than they will hear at baseball, soccer, dance, anywhere else, basketball. That's something different when you establish that on how we differentiate ourselves from other activities in sports that they may want to get their child into. And you make yourself look like now to the consumer as an educational facility, not just a PE class where we throw kicks or punches or arm bars or whatever we do on the mat. So you can't necessarily articulate that through marketing. So you got to think, what's going to get people in the door? And it's what you said, Tass. A Focus for Better Grades, Stranger Danger Seminar, free community event. Just get them into the car to test drive. And then it's your job to sell them on the drive.
For those of you that have done mass intros before and you've gone through the 4 steps, I don't know where the timestamp is in here, but I would go back and I would watch that again. Because sometimes, and Metz said script, right? And not necessarily a script, but bullet points. And sometimes we just try to get through the bullet points. And it's important to really understand the presentation and connect, because there's a difference between a presentation and a conversation, right? Like, you have to make it a conversation. You have to get their heads nodding. He was asking questions. Your child, does bullying happen in schools, right? Does this happen? And you're getting yes momentum. So these are some of the things that are happening as well. So we're getting all those yeses and the approval. And then when we shift over to, listen, when you walk through that door, you walked into a positive zone. And here's what, and he went through all that, right? But if you were to go back and watch this and listen to how he framed it, and listen to and this is going to sound like a sales pitch, right? But listen to the voice inflection. A lot of us, when we speak, we tend to be at the same level the whole time. And that's just not how people converse. When people get excited, their voice goes up and goes loud, right? And their conversation and tone goes like this. So when you listen to the tone that he used, and it's not this complicated, but if you really want to be successful, pay attention to a few things. Number one, the details. Number one, the questions that are asked. And number two, the voice inflection, because of the sincerity that comes across when he's saying those things. And it's going to align people to now watch. This is why this is in the beginning, to watch your class and see the difference that we just talked about on rule number 4. And then the next thing is, you have to deliver a class that does exactly what you said you were just going to do. So if you're the instructor that is giving negative discipline, as an example, right, where a kid's not doing, you say, no, you got to put the other hand up. Well, that's not what you just said you were going to do, right? So you need to make sure, obviously, that you're following what it is that you say. And then the other thing I will tell you is this, from a retention standpoint, I think a lot of people can have a really solid mass enrollment, and then we get them enrolled, and then what happens is they don't get that same experience and the same life skills that are dropped in classes. It was like a one and done. We put our show pony out there, and we got everybody to buy in, and then we sometimes don't deliver and continue to deliver on those life skills. So every class that you teach, and we just did an instructor training yesterday, and the whole idea of line of sight or mat vision or eagle eye or whatever you want to call it is knowing your surroundings, not just on that mat, but the front door, the lobby, the mats, everywhere in your school, and constantly delivering. When I teach a class, I'm teaching to the students on the floor, and I'm teaching to the parents in the chairs. And there's this constant engagement, because every single class, I need to make sure I'm reselling the benefits and values as to why they're there and why they need to come back. And that way, when a child maybe wants to quit, as an example, or they want to do something else, the parent isn't going to let them do that as easily, because they see the values and benefits for their kids. So I think it was some great points there, Metz, and some great concepts. And if you guys go back and listen, I think you'll pull some gems out of what was just done, specifically on step number 4 of the mass enrollment process. And if you don't know step 4, then you can join our foundations program. There's my pitch.
It was strong. And Mr. Halama, yeah, it's on the Maya Edge. There's a video up there of me teaching the team how to get people, how to anchor their kids, or how to anchor them to come to your school. And then a video of me teaching them how to close it. And then a live video of me actually doing a live close, like in real live close. Anyway, hey, listen, at the end of the day, we won't keep you long, but it's about presentation. And I said this on our foundations call that I did yesterday. When you guys try something and it doesn't work, you're smart enough to know that it does work, because so many people have done it, and it's consistent. It works. And the example I gave is like when I taught my daughter to ride a bike, and she started riding the bike when she was younger, and she fell and picked it up, went again, and she couldn't. She put her foot down and went again, put her foot down. She never stopped and said, "Dad, you got me a broken bicycle." She didn't even cross her mind that this bike is broke because she's not able to balance. All of you riding a bike, new bikes worked. You knew they worked because you saw everyone else riding a bike. You just have to practice enough to make it work for you. And that's the same thing with a mass enrollment or anything that we do. You got to learn and say, I can do better next time. For all of you who've had success with mass enrollments, 12 new students, 5, 12, 6, 15. Okay, now it's time to do better. What can we do better? How can I connect better? How can I understand the concept of what these customers really are looking for, whether they know it or not? We know what parents want as a whole. We want good kids that listen, that have focus, discipline. By the way, if an adult comes in your school, well, we know what they want. They want to work out, they want to lose weight, they want to get in shape, and they want to do something different other than the gym. They want to learn self-defense. We know what they want. So you got to hone in a little bit and paint these pictures, and the close is easy. The sale happens on the floor and through experience. Closing it is easy. It's just all about present. So do not be ashamed to have to sell that. Because to the consumer who's never done martial arts or stepped in one foot into a martial arts facility, you got to sell them on it because they have their own vision of what martial arts is, and it could be completely different than what we really do and what we really offer for people. So that's it.
That's very good. Very good, Michael.
Thank you, Tass. This feedback thing is just bugging me. That's why I want to end this.
Yeah, no, I know. Me too. And look, so for those of you that have done them, mass enrollments, mass intros, right, work so well that sometimes we don't go back to them as often as we should. So you want a concept? Here's a concept. Do one a month. Just put it in your calendar and do one a month. And, you market people to come to that. You take your leads that didn't come in, you market them to come to that. If 5 people show up, 5 people show up. And you've said this before. If nobody shows up, you close the door and turn out the lights and you leave, right? But if you schedule them in, number one, what gets scheduled gets done. And number two, you're going to pick up more new students if you do that and you put it regularly in your schedule.
By the way, and for everybody, look, all of you that did, 12-5, 12-6, 15 new enrollments in an hour at a mass intro, do one every weekend then.
Right. But
you're having a challenge with the first part, which is how do I consistently get people in? So you got to keep thinking, how can I get more people in? But if you're doing those numbers, you might as well do one every weekend. You guys will double your school. Okay. So
I see a lot of people. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's plenty of people that are getting 50 to 100 leads, web leads a month. There's no way that we're servicing all of those people and they're all coming in. So over the course of 6 months, over the course of a month, I mean, you have a lot of people. If you have 80 leads, I mean, maybe you're getting 30 or 40 of them to come in, right? And some people do a better job of that. But, talking to clients, I typically see they can have a relatively good 50, 60, 70% appointment rate, but then the show rate drops significantly. And then, of course, the enrollment rate. So all of those people that don't show or don't come in, it's just another opportunity for us to give for them to come into, don't call it a mass intro or a mass enrollment, right? We would just call it a free community event. So disguise your marketing by using that. So we'd love to hear feedback from you guys, but not from me. We're to hear feedback.
We're hearing tremendous feedback from you.
Right.
All right, guys, we'll go out there, go do it. Practice mass enrollments. Like I said at the beginning, even if you're a one-man or one-woman show, it's going to make your life so much easier to grow your school exponentially if you get good at these, because you could do them on a Saturday mornings. Saturday at 11 a.m. is the best time we find, but get it done and start getting more students in and showing people in your community the values and benefits of training with you. So until next time.
Have a great holiday weekend, everybody.
Yep. Enjoy your